Live.
Hi, this is Julie Murphy with Arizona Farm Bureau with our Talk to a Farmer, Talk to a Rancher series. And you may have noticed that I've been absent for probably, I don't know, what do you think, Joel, the last 2 months? I call it a sabbatical. Just trying to transition with some other things and busy in the communications department for Arizona Farm Bureau. But we're beginning a new series, and I'll introduce my first guest soon. But the series is on meat processors and kind of what's the landscape here in the state of Arizona and what we're doing. What I have so far learned and researched, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong on anything, please, Tim.
Okay.
But I know that there's dozens of small to mid-size meat processors serving our ranchers, our farmers, our hunters. Some of our processors are exclusively doing the game. And so they're very niched. Most of them are family owned and or independent, and speaking in this kind of smaller to middle meat processing space. And I was surprised. We have more than I thought here in the state of Arizona. There's challenges to this kind of space in the food supply chain. And that's one of the reasons why I'm curious to visit with the experts like Tim Petersen. And I just kind of want to understand the landscape. So in the next month, maybe month and a half, however it takes, we're going to learn about our meat processors, our ranchers' dependency in that process, and also our hunters. If I go big game hunting, I get my elk, I want to take my meat home. Our dedicated hunters like to eat their own meat. I want to take that home. So who's going to process that meat for me so that I can feed it to my family and my friends? So those are some of the things we're going to learn about. Tim Petersen's my first guest. You're the Yavapai County Vice President.
Yes.
Yavapai County Farm Bureau Vice President. He's a superstar for us. He's on the state board, and you guys keep Yavapai County very busy with what you do. And I noticed that you're wearing your Farm Bureau Financial Services insurance hat.
I'm writing for the brand.
Yeah, you're writing for the brand, absolutely. So tell us, and for those that are joining us live and maybe watching this video later, give us your story. I know you're a rancher. I know you're invested in a lot of value-added products from the beef space. So what's your story?
All right. Well, what's my story? I started out as my great-grandfather and my grandfather were meat cutters.
Oh, really?
My great-grandfather had 3 butcher shops in Chicago. So maybe that's where this came from. And I started out in the real estate appraisal business in the late 80s and got really interested in appraising agriculture properties along with other properties, but really had a love for the agriculture. My parents grew us kids up in the outdoors of Arizona. My dad had ranchers that were friends, and I was always very intrigued with ranching. But I was a real estate appraiser, and then I became a land developer, home builder, and that wonderful year of 2008 came around, and the entire housing market crashed. Prior to that, I had a small ranch in Humboldt, Arizona, where we raised mules and rode mules and packed mules and put on seminars and sold mules, and ended up getting a couple cows. And that's where I raised my children.
And that's where you got infected with the beef business.
That's where I got infected with the beef business. And I knew a lot of the local ranchers in the Humboldt-Dewey area, and had a lot of knowledge of the valuation of ranches and farms and how the money side works. So when the housing market crashed in 2008, I found myself with a wife and 4 children and no job after many years of being very successful in real estate. I built spec houses, flipped spec houses, flipped land, did a lot of consulting.
It was a very brutal time.
Yeah. And in my appraisal career, I employed 23 real estate appraisers. I mean, we were a big firm. And then we built a lot of homes and built subdivisions. And one day it all came to a screeching halt. And I just stood there and went, well, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, So how it kind of got started was I was on a boat on the Colorado River at Lee's Ferry fishing with a buddy of mine who owns a cafe up in Dewey, Arizona. And he says to me, he says, you know, Tim, he says, all you wealthy home builders don't have any money anymore. You guys used to all eat out at Outback Steakhouse up in Prescott. He goes, now you're all eating in my cafe down here in Dewey.
I love it.
And he says, people will always have to eat. And I thought, I can hang out for 10 years until this market recovers and go back into developing and building, or I can find something else to do. And a very good friend of mine, Roger Cheatham, and the Cheathams are pretty well known in agriculture here in Arizona and California. He was selling meat at farmers markets, and he was a cattle guy, expert feedlot guy, dairy guy, and he was my best buddy. And we started talking about beef, and he is kind of responsible for getting me into this business, get me started going. But as I researched it, I realized that I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing, which was grain-fed beef, JBS, you know, the big boys.
Right.
I wanted to do something more niche.
You wanted to have a niche.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's riches and niches. That's the way I always put it.
Okay.
So I started looking into grass-fed beef, and it really wasn't that popular back then. And so I started hauling cattle down to the University of Arizona, and they were doing the processing for me. And we were out trying to sell to restaurants and trying to sell beef. Did some farmers markets, and this is 15 years ago. And then and didn't have a lot of money because my livelihood was taken away. And then we moved to Camp Verde because there's irrigation down here, and I leased a couple farms to help me kind of launch the beef business, and hired a son-in-law, and we just went for it. And one day I got a call from a company called Natural Grocers, and they were building their first natural grocery store here in Arizona.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of where we got in with Natural Grocers.
We got one in Gilbert.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them now.
Yeah.
And we actually ended up having our bone broth in all the natural grocery stores in the western United States. They were really good to us. So so I thought, you know, there might be something here. So I just kind of stuck with it. And then I realized that being from the real estate background, that a guy could pick up a ranch that had been, you know, deteriorated and not cared for. And a guy could take a ranch and turn it into an investment and build sweat equity in it, because I couldn't afford to buy a multi-million-dollar ranch. And then we just started leasing small parcels of ground, getting the ag exemption on them. We had a small ranch up in St. John, Arizona, which was all private, and it was a big chunk of land that was repoed. And I would talk to these bankers and these banks about, hey, why don't you let me run cattle on your land? Because the housing market crashed. There was dirt everywhere. There was land, vacant land everywhere. So we'd go in and fence it off and run cattle in there. And it was a tough way to do it, but it was the only way I could get started. And that's a great argument as a rabbit trail for why we need the assessor's offices in this state to calm down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because they're constantly trying to take away ag exemptions. But it's a great way for young ranchers and first-time ranchers to get started. And
to keep agriculture in our state.
Yeah, what a concept.
Yeah, what a concept.
Yeah, because we do have to eat, you know.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying my first ranch for next to nothing. And the guy sold me the ranch because I leased it. And he said, the last 5 people I leased this ranch to never paid their bills, and you paid your bills. So he carried me. And one of my other partners bought in with me, along with Arizona Grass Raised Beef, and a partner that I've had for 40 years now, and business partner. And we just started ranching, and we started surveying the ranch. And in the appraisal industry, there's a term called highest and best use and functional utility. And I applied a lot of my real estate knowledge to that ranch and rearranged fences and basically analyzed the functional utility. And today it's just a phenomenal ranch.
Wow.
And then
now, where is this one located?
This is like Black Canyon City area.
Okay.
And then we just bought the ranch behind that ranch, and we've had a couple of ranches in Mayer and different places. We have a small ranch up in Sedona where we do our genetics. We don't do any AI. I just like El Natural, you know. So over the years, we got so busy that the U of A, you know, great processing plant, but I came to the decision that if I was really going to be successful, I had to have my own processing plant. And so I found a little processing plant in Chino Valley.
Which I've been there to that one.
Yeah.
It's pristine and clean.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yep.
Little. But
it was kind of a mess when I got there.
Oh, I bet.
So we spent a couple of months remodeling, cleaning, pressure washer, you know, remodeling. And we got the USDA involved, which was probably the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. The very first cow we killed up on the rail, when I stamped it, I actually had a tear.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, because that was getting USDA inspected is pretty tough.
I bet.
Right out of the gate. So
yeah.
So that's where we started Arizona grass raised beef.
Yeah.
And from there,
under a USDA inspected
yeah.
processing.
Yes.
You were going kind of where they talk about in the food supply chain. You were incorporating and integrating more than one link in the chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to be that rancher. And I kept hearing, you know, I kept watching farmers markets. And then I'm watching a company called Whole Foods. And I'm watching them buying our local markets here in Prescott and down here in Yavapai County and Flagstaff and Camp Verde. And I'm just watching these going, these guys, there's a revolution that's starting, and it's called, I want to know where the hell my food's coming from.
Right.
Right. So that's what kind of kept me motivated. And
it really did take off in that 2007 to 2009 period. They even coined the word locavore.
Yeah, locavore.
Yeah.
Farm to table, fork to plate, gate, something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I got the ranch now. I've got some irrigated pastures, some farmland. Now I've got a slaughter plant, and just kept investing in that model, and found out that people really bought our beef, not only because it was good free range beef, but they knew where it was coming from. It was USDA inspected, and the rancher was the processor, and we just told a story.
Yeah, and it's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then from there, you kind of expanded and...
So, you know, value added is important. And I got tired of throwing all these bones in the dumpster every week after we would slaughter. And so my business partner did some research on bone broth. And he says, Tim, we got to make bone broth. So down here in Camp Verde, I used to sell steaks to the gentleman that used to run a restaurant out of this building, this very building we're in.
Oh, wow.
And I knew there was a little kitchen back here in the back with a pizza oven in it. And we used to roast the bones back then before we put them in the pots. So we bought 2 small little 40-gallon pots and leased just the kitchen, and started making bone broth. And then all of a sudden...
And I've tasted it. It's excellent. It's good.
It's made just like great grandma made it on the ranch and the farm. We're not doing anything nobody else has ever done. We're just doing what great grandma did 100 years ago on the farm and the ranch. So we started selling bone broth and making it out of our 2 little kettles, and, you know, pretty good quality product. And now we found a home for the bones. And then we needed to find a home for the organ meats. So we started pasture pup dog treats. And then we started making a formed beef jerky, and we started making a whole muscle beef jerky, just to move product, right? And then we had a couple of companies that we did a little co-packing for as well. But I could in a short amount of time, see that the value added side of this business is really, really where the better profits were, right? And a slaughter plant is a very expensive building to operate. You know, and in trying to find meat cutters that know how to break beef on the rail, which is an old school, you know, you go to most of your grocery stores and all the meat comes in a box. It's all boxed meat. That's our industry now.
And then they cut it and slice it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a couple of meat cutters, and we started going. We used to take all of our meat down to Phoenix on a Friday morning at 4:00 in the morning and do all the grinding. I wasn't even set up to grind beef out there. And we'd grind it all and package it all and put it back in the truck and bring it back up and do deliveries on the way back. And it was a lot of years of really, really hard work.
Yeah.
but good, honest work.
Good.
And at the same time, building the ranch and trying to develop more pastures in Camp Verde, a lot of irrigation and just trying to grow the cattle aspect of it as well.
Okay.
So then, yeah.
Well, and let me pause for kind of station identification. This is Julie Murphy and Tim Petersen. I'm with the Arizona Farm Bureau, and Tim Petersen is a rancher, a value-added beef connoisseur and entrepreneur.
I'm a beef snob.
You're a beef snob.
I
I love
beef.
that. I love beef. I love beef too. And also, if you have a question in the comments, if you joined us live, feel free to ask. If we can't answer the question here, just because of time constraints, we can always follow up later. This will also be saved, obviously, to this Instagram account and also put up on Arizona Farm Bureau's website, azfb.org. But the whole series we're doing now for the next probably 2 months is on our meat processing plants, a very important link in our food supply chain. And I personally want to know more about it, so I decided let's do the series.
Sure.
So my next question to you then is, based on how knee-deep in some senses you've been in this, what's the landscape for Arizona's meat processing space in this food supply chain?
Yeah. So we have smaller processors. We do have a handful of USDA plants now. There were only 3 of us for many years.
Really?
JBS was one of them.
Yeah.
You know,
one of the big guys.
Bless their hearts. You know, we got to feed people. I mean, we need those guys too. So, so we have a couple more USDA inspected plants, and you know, the challenge is there's really not a lot of money in the business of processing meat. Most of these non-USDA plants, they do wild game, and that's their big nut for the year. And although we've been able to get the pricing up a little bit, now a guy has to pay these high cattle prices and then pay the processing on top of it, and just not a lot of money in it. So we had a USDA plant scheduled to be built in Camp Verde. The Yavapai cattle growers was on board, the Farm Bureau was on board, and the state of Arizona was on board. The University of Arizona Extension was on board. And
it was going to be a collaborative
effort.
Cooperative effort.
And bless his heart and soul, he's passed about a year or so ago. Andy Grossetta
that's right.
really pushed that.
A hero in my book.
Yeah, what a guy. And so I was going to be on an advisory board because I've been kind of doing this for a while. We had some other ranchers, and we actually had quite a plan. And we woke up one day and realized that the governor cut about $10 million out of the budget that was supposed to go towards this plant. So there was no use in going after federal money. The U of A was going to put some money in. They were actually going to do a lot of the training as well. And so the whole thing went down in smoke, unfortunately. And
do you think it could ever be resurrected again?
It would just
got the plant.
We'd have to have some legislators. But see, building slaughter plants, they're very expensive.
Yeah.
Just the kill
and complicated.
Floor, yeah. The kill floor is so expensive. The rail systems and all the winches and lifts. And
when you say rail system, that's literally what we're seeing move along a conveyor belt or whatever when the carcass is moved forward. Okay.
Yeah. You know, coolers, compressors. I mean, they're expensive, you know. So I've only remodeled one, and I am also a retired general contractor, and I've run numbers on what it would cost to build one. I've looked at different sites, and at the end of the day, I've run the numbers many times as an appraiser and a builder and a developer, and it doesn't pencil. So the only way it worked was to have it subsidized by the state, by the feds, and that's the only way we're ever going to really get Arizona ranchers to sell more of their beef. There's a processing plant in Brawley, California, but you've got to send a lot of cattle over there to make that trip over there pencil. So for the small guys, it doesn't really pencil.
Are we in then? What I'm trying to understand then, we're kind of in a rock and a hard spot.
Yeah, sort of.
So let's stick a little bit more on this whole cooperative effort to have a USDA inspected plant. How big was the hope that you were going to, that was going to, like,
Yeah.
how big was it going to be?
Well, that was still speculated, but I was hoping that we'd be able to do 100 to 150 animals minimum a week.
A week.
Yeah.
And again, all of that would be focused on local
Yeah.
processing
Local ranchers, the tribes.
that would pivot to selling their meat, whether that was to a restaurant,
Mhm.
to a farmer's market, to
Yeah.
just direct sales via the internet.
Yeah.
How many plants right now in the small to mid-size can satisfy some of that? And where are they?
Well, you know, our plant has been maxed out for years. I mean, during COVID, we were 9 months behind. Some of the Arizona plants, they're busy and they're all booked up as well, but you can't ship the beef over state lines.
Okay.
And then there's a plant here in town where they process. I don't think they kill cows, but they process them. They do on site.
Okay.
And they're exempt. So every package of beef has to be stamped not for resale. So you could raise your own steer and take it and have him come out and slaughter it, and then he'd take it back to his shop.
Okay.
What needs to happen, Julie, is we need to build 1 or 2 mobile USDA processing facilities.
Okay.
You can actually buy a semi truck and a complete processing setup in the trailer of the semi truck for about $250,000, as opposed to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million to build a new plant. You could build a very simple square building where those carcasses could be hauled back in a reefer truck and processed in that plant. Building a plant where you can grind beef and cut meat, not very expensive. Pretty simple stuff. Walk-in coolers, maybe a dry age cooler, some freezers. It's the slaughter side that's expensive. You got to put in a set of pins. You got to have a knock box. You got to have a lot of equipment to humanely slaughter an animal. You got to have a lot of cattle handling equipment. With a mobile plant, the USDA will inspect. They will find an inspector to follow that plant. And like in St. John, Arizona, there's a veterinarian up there. He's been there for years. And on the corner of his property, he's got a complete cattle working facility there. If you have a horse or a cow that needs to be worked on, he'll meet you there. He's got squeezes, he's got pins, he's got everything you need. San Carlos Indian Reservation has a rodeo arena with pins. So there's all kinds of facilities where this truck could be scheduled. The ranchers could be told that during this week or these 2 weeks, that mobile USDA plant's going to be there. And then
awesome.
That's, in my mind, that's the cost is so much cheaper.
And I think I know of at least one mobile unit,
there's
right?
small mobile units.
There are some
small guys.
But a lot of times they're maybe just doing it for maybe that.
For that owner.
For that owner.
The ranchers aren't able to bring those cattle in and have them processed.
Okay.
So that's the model that financially works. Now, if I was 20 years younger, I'd build one and it'd be on the road by now.
Wow.
But I'm just getting too old and just.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. But that's really financially the way to go, because it just doesn't pencil unless it's subsidized by our government.
Right.
And our government has to understand that, you know, people need to eat, people want local, and there's a lot of legislators down at the state that just don't care.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So you shared a solution. It's the mobile units. Mm-hmm. Do you have any predictions for the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, to me, we're at a rock and a hard spot. We need mm-hmm. more. And now I'm going to start saying it since I've listened to mm-hmm. you. These much more economically built mobile slaughter units.
Yeah.
That rotate around the state,
mm-hmm.
get scheduled. Maybe they're stationed for 1 week at that particular. Mm-hmm. The ranchers know about it. They can mm-hmm. get their beef slaughtered. I mean, how are some of our beef producers doing it now when they are able to take their beef to the farmers market? I mean,
I know a lot of them have stopped doing it.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed that too.
You know, because there's no money in it.
Yeah.
And then if you don't process at a USDA plant, you can't sell to Cisco, Shamrock, A lot of your restaurants won't buy meat. A lot of your retailers won't buy meat.
How about if I just want to sell out of a little storefront that I have and or the local farmers market?
Well,
but I still have to get my harvested beef scheduled to be slaughtered, and there's only so many places I can take it.
And then you got to take a look at cattle prices today.
Yeah.
When I started in this, I could buy a grass fat animal for 68 cents a pound. Today I got to pay $1.68.
Yeah.
And so I'm a rancher, and I'm going to take this grass fat animal. I can take it to the sale barn and get $1.68, or I can spend more money, have it processed.
Yeah.
There's no money in the hides anymore. There's too much Naga hide and too much stuff coming up from South America. What are you going to do? The 70% of that carcass is ground beef. So you might have a customer that wants, oh, Julie, I'd love to have 100 pounds of ribeye steaks every week. Well, you know how many cows you got to kill to meet that order?
Yeah.
So it's called carcass utilization.
Yeah.
And that's another big thing you've got to overcome, because when 70% of that carcass is ground beef, that's why we make Primal Blend. We make 4 different flavors of beef sausage. And Nick, the guy that owns Arizona Grass Raised Beef today, he's experimenting with lots of other sausages through his butcher shop in Phoenix.
And he's still creating a value-added product, but he's maximizing on utilization of that carcass.
Well, you've got to move that ground beef. And you've got to make patties out of it. You got to make squares out of it. You got to make chubs out of it. You got to flavor it. We made the formed beef jerky because I was making beef jerky out of it. I put it in my pasture pup dog treats. You got to get the beef. You got to get the ground beef gone.
Yes.
So that's a challenge. And you only get 2 skirt steaks, but you might get 18 ribeyes, so carcass utilization is a big part of figuring that formula out.
So as a rancher, I'm sitting here thinking about this, I might just be motivated to stay in the cow-calf and sell it at its premium, that premium price per pound.
Today we're at 1951 inventories in this country.
Right.
And our cattle herds are down, down, down. We used to run.
And they're not coming back overnight.
It's going to be a decade. I'm guessing a decade.
Does this whole environment and the price of it, because our inventory is so tight, and Americans, I'm still paying the price. And I see it in the grocery store, but beef is that important to me. Yeah. So I'm still going to buy it. But this niched local market it's not going to scale at the level I would if I just stuck with my calf operation. Am I asking that right?
You will probably today make more money off of selling your calves off.
Yeah.
Contracting
through a regular auction.
Or feeding them up a little bit,
Right.
Feed has come down, diesel fuel's up.
Yeah.
People say that beef prices are too high. Okay. Well, today a brand new truck is $100,000 or more. Horseshoes have gone up. Hay's gone up. Fuel's gone up. Trucks have gone up. Labor's gone up. And this is what we need to run a ranch.
Right.
So, but here's my argument. And this is why I have faith in the beef side of it. The American consumer thinks that beef is too expensive. What they're not understanding is that it's just caught up. It's just caught up. And so
cool. I like that philosophy. Okay.
And you can go over to your local grocery store and I've done it. And you can go down the cereal aisle, and you can go down the potato chip aisle, and you can go down the cookie aisle. Go down all 3 aisles, pick the top 5 brands. You're going to pay an average of $8 a pound for that high processed, sugar infused crap. Can I say that on our?
Yeah, you have permission.
It's not good
crap.
for us.
It's crap.
Beef is a superfood.
Yeah.
It's an absolute superfood, especially American grown beef. So I went back to Bash's this morning, and they had ground beef on sale for $4.99 a pound. So consumers are willing to pay $8 a pound for their potato chips, their Doritos, all their sugar-infused, ultra-processed cereals, all their cookies. They get upset when they got to pay $8 a pound for a ribeye steak.
I love it. Okay, so today's beef prices have finally caught up.
They finally caught up.
And if you want nutrient-dense, healthy food, you stick to that
Yeah.
beef.
It's a
And
superfood.
give up the cereal,
Yeah.
give up the sugar,
Yeah.
give up
The paleo,
middle aisle.
paleo, keto, and carnivore diets are growing at a rate of 33% a year.
Wow.
And the most important phrase in food today is not organic or, you know, farmers market. It's this. And this is very important because this is what's going to keep driving this for us local ranchers. I want to know exactly, not kind of sort of, but I want to know exactly where my food is coming from. And people love that. And they'll buy beef from a rancher because they can build a relationship with the rancher. Even if the rancher doesn't have his own processing plant, if it's processed in Arizona, that's a big plus. We've become successful because we have everything under one roof. And then to make the business model really work, we've developed all these value-added products.
Yeah.
So nothing goes to waste. People love that story. You're going to sell your beef. It's got to be good beef, but people actually are buying a story. You know?
Your beef tallow is awesome. I would use that when I would cook my eggs in the morning. Your beef broth. So you've created some value-added products. What you've kind of given us an insight on that, but if you could kind of overview it, what would you say needs fixing then if it's really hard for us to launch a brand new processing facility because of the cost of it? You did give us answer about the mobile units, but what else needs fixing around these links in the supply chain?
Oh, fixing. Boy, you could go on. We have a lot of issues we're fighting with the National Forest and the Bureau of Land Management, just trying to run cattle.
Yeah.
They're always trying to knock our numbers down. We have environmentalists that their only job in life is to sue the BLM and sue the Forest Service because they want all the cattle off the public lands.
Yeah.
We have the New World screwworm down in Mexico.
Yeah.
So our borders are shut down. We don't have any more feeder calves coming up from Mexico and South America. So we have a lot of problems, but processing, you can fix the cattle problem over time, but you have to be able to process the cattle. It needs to be sort of a co-op model, and it needs to be subsidized by the government. A lot of our small towns after COVID came up with these food security plans. You know, the Arizona Department of Agriculture is now run by a gentleman by the name of Paul Brierly, Director Brierly. He's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, he really has.
And he has completely revamped the Arizona Grown logo. And that's going to help our Arizona beef guys out big time.
Oh, good.
I've been privileged to be in on some of the decision making and some of the, you know, the insight of what's going on with that program. And it's going to really help us out. That's a problem that's being solved.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest problem is just processing, but the cost to build a processing plant. There's plenty of money out there. There's lots of people that want to invest and make money, but there's really no money in processing. That's the problem. There's not a lot of money in it. And so that is the big challenge. So,
and to me, if I'm understanding all this right, then that's gonna hurt if you are a beef producer and you want to sell your beef at a farmer's market and I'm talking just about the cuts. I'm not talking about the value added stuff you're doing. So the scale of our local, just genuine meat cuts is kind of stagnant.
It's kind of stagnant.
Okay.
Yeah. More, and it's probably gone backwards a little bit.
Oh, okay.
You know, COVID was the big push.
Okay.
I mean, I remember one night coming out of the ranch, my website shut down. We got so many orders for beef. We couldn't, for 9 months, we were 9 months behind.
Well, I'll tell you our story, and mine's just a simple one. I'm not out there doing the things you're having to do. We had about 25 beef producers that would sell directly to any Arizona family that looked them up on the internet. And overnight after COVID, it just doubled. We had about 50. Now, several of those beef producers are no longer trying to, I mean, it worked then. But one of the things that I keep always seeing and hearing, and as I'm doing some research on this, is we just don't have enough meat processing plants. to maximize and so totally satisfy
Yeah.
the local market. And you guys had a solution, and it got deep sixed.
Oh yeah.
Because the state decided they didn't want to finance it.
Cut the budget. Yeah.
So if you have like a standalone plant built at that scale, it's still going to have to be a cooperative effort between the University of Arizona, some maybe private investors,
government,
the state of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that can come back down the
Well,
road? Or right now, that's not the market.
Somebody's got to find the time to go to the legislator and get the money through.
Right.
And I don't know if we have anybody that has that kind of time. I mean, I go testify down there just on labeling. We don't want this fake meat to say beef.
Yeah.
And states keep passing legislation that, but down at our state legislature, I mean, everybody, well, there's one side of the party that votes for it. There's another side of the party that doesn't want it because they think, I don't know why, but I at the end of every time I testify at the Capitol, I just say, it's only our food. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. Just our food. Who cares? But
I love that.
But we have to protect this product that American ranchers produce. And you can't go to a laboratory. You can't mimic it. And it smells like a turd, and it doesn't taste good.
And it looks like a turd.
Yeah. And they want to call it beef. But we can't even get our Arizona legislators to pass legislation. Quan Nguyen, a representative up here, introduced the anti-Grosetta bill about 6 months ago. And it went to the Senate, and that side of the party senator wouldn't even bring it to committee.
It's just crazy.
It just died. Boom.
I don't get it.
So we can't even get that done. So how do we prove to these people that we need a slaughter plant, that we need local, people want more local beef?
Right. I'm going to root for, because you said you feel like you're too old to be messing with that anymore, but I'm going to cheer on a young, enthusiastic entrepreneur that wants to start one of those mobile units that you're describing. Maybe he can lean into your counsel. And in the meantime, and Arizona Farm Bureau was all in on this cooperative effort to get a plant made. But what else can Arizona Farm Bureau do? Keep talking about it like on things like this. So
education
but what
is
else?
big.
Yeah, okay.
Education is really big. Again, there's so many people, and Farm Bureau does probably a better job than anybody. And there's still lots of people that think their burger comes from the grocery store. Yeah. They have no idea. All you got to do is go out on the ranch with me. Well, you interviewed Benny. Yeah. And he told you all about the horror stories. Yeah. People cutting fences and rock crawlers and ATVs.
It's crazy.
And we can't get law enforcement to help us. We can count on Game and Fish. There's a lot of people we can count on. But when you see somebody tearing the desert up, tearing your ranch up, or taking a rock crawler up the side of a face because the suspension articulates, and they're shooting pictures of it, and they go, and then you come walking up with your grandson who's only 13 years old, and you say, what do you guys think that we want to see hydraulic fluid and oil and tire marks in this beautiful canyon because you want to take a raw crawler and prove that your suspension works better than the other guys?
I just don't get it.
And then they turn around and give you the FU right in front of your grandson.
Oh my gosh.
And that's another big problem on our ranches. We don't have the law enforcement. So then I look at that guy and I go, do you like hamburgers? I love hamburgers. Do you like steaks? Oh, we love steaks. I'm your boy.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that does it. And you're tearing my ranch up, So education is a big part of it.
Even if they would have come to you and asked, do we have permission? Yeah. You might have been able to coordinate it so that they didn't do damage. Yeah. But they have they don't even think of that.
They have no respect for the outdoors. And they don't realize that somebody is out there making a living on this ranch. Yeah. And the way they tear up our stuff and what they do to our land is, law enforcement could fix that, but we need more funding, Right. But to answer your question, education is a really, really big part of it as well.
And our Ag in the Classroom department, led by Katie Akins, they do a rock star job. But we both look at each other because I'm in the communication side of it, and Katie's on the ag education side of it, and we said we'll never be out of a job
Right.
because we're still barely scratching the surface
Mm-hmm.
of all of the complexities and diversity and brilliance and beautiful
Mm-hmm.
awesomeness of agriculture. And her and I have been at Farm Bureau at the same length of time,
Mm-hmm.
almost 20 years.
Right.
She's the young one. She started a lot younger than I
Yeah.
did. And we still think, okay, we've pushed back a little bit on the misinformation,
Mm-hmm.
but we still have a long ways to go. And we've scaled. I mean, when she first started, I think the first year was something like 19,000 students, parents, and teachers taught.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's averaging about 150,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been able to scale that, and fundraising, things like that have happened that have helped.
Yeah.
And even in the communications end, what we've been able to scale to, even on the marketing, just doing these Talk to a Farmer Fridays,
Mm-hmm.
our reach for people watching these videos later is more surprising than I would have thought. Somebody has a question.
Yes, we do have a question. Someone wants to know, where can we buy this locally?
Okay. Well, there's a couple things you can do. You can go to fillyourplate.org and select, and we've got these searchable databases. Select where it says product, and you can pick beef and look at all of the different farmers and ranchers that will sell to you directly. But Tim, you ought to plug your product.
azgrassraisedbeef.com.
Yep. AZ grass-fed beef.
Grass-raised beef.
Grassraisedbeef.com.
Yeah.
Yes. And there I'll find cuts of beef,
Mm-hmm.
the beef tallow, the broth,
Yep.
and the sausages.
Primal blend, which is
Yeah.
a blend of ground beef and organ meats. Organ meats are growing,
right?
For nutrition. The market never lies. That's one thing you learn when you were a real estate appraiser for 20 years. The market never lies.
Does not lie.
It never lies. The market never lies. And we, the people in the United States, are the market.
Yep.
And we have markets outside of the United States, obviously. And I try to encourage, like the Arizona Department of Ag. They have meetings, these great meetings with stakeholders, and they really want to hear from us. And I think let's just go locally, but our departments of agriculture and our agriculture-based schools can do a better job. I'll bet you if you took a survey in the state of Arizona, 90% of the people that live here don't even know there's a Department of Agriculture in Arizona. So they're starting with this Arizona grown deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Arizona Department of Agriculture needs to market itself and as an entity within itself, that we're here and we're pushing local, and
because their story is amazing. We did I think an 8-part series on them, and Paul anchored it. He was the last individual I interviewed, trying to promote, because there was a lot of things about the Arizona Department of Ag, as long as I've worked with them, that I didn't even know.
Sure, but if the public, especially that wants local foods, could understand what the Department of Agriculture is up against, and a big part of their problem is just funding.
Right.
They just need funding. And with more funding, they can hire more brand inspectors. They can hire more meat inspectors. They can hire more talented people to build the Arizona Grown program and all the great things that they're trying to do down there. And then that educates people, which gets the right people elected into the legislature because they control the money.
Yeah.
And then we can start funding stuff that is very important to ranchers.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's great insight. And it also seems like we need to be doing a lot of praying.
A lot of praying, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for helping us launch this new series. And thank you for those of you who joined us live. We're taking a break next week, even though we had a 2-month sabbatical prior, but it's Memorial Day weekend, and most of you guys will probably be hanging out with your families. You don't want to be listening to me. And then the following week, we're going to have our second guest as it relates to meat processing here in the state of Arizona. Blessings to you. See you next time.